Morning! We're just coming to the end of our Trent adventure and we're just about to come off at Trent Lock, and then we'll be going onto the River Soar. We've got a full tank of diesel, a full tank of water and lots of food. So it's quite unusual to have all three of those at the same time, so we can keep going now for a few days without having to worry, which is nice. The only problem is that our freezer has packed up, and so for the rest of the week we're going to have to go on the carnivore diet as I cook everything that's in there. And the problem we've got is that our freezer is a very specific size. It's rectangular and it's only 36 centimetres wide. And it's sort of advertised as one that's good for students and boats and caravans, etc. And we can find them online, but we can't find a supplier that sells them. And of course we don't have an address to have one delivered, and people won't deliver yet to a what's 3-word location. So we've been ringing forward to all the big places that we're going through, Leicester, etc. But nobody has this freezer. And then today we rang one in Market Harborough because we're going to pop in there, and there's one appliance shop there, and although they don't stock it, he was such a nice man in there, a chap called Ian, and he used to have a boat, so he understands the difficulties, and he's offered to let us send the freezer from eBay or wherever to their shop, and then we can get it from there down onto the boat. So that's probably what we're going to do. You just meet such nice people sometimes, don't you? I mean, he didn't have to say that at all, so that's good. So we're going to try and get that organised. Well, we're bang in the middle of the country here, and we're just at an intersection, 4 canals or rivers, and we are heading south. Lots of possibilities here. Oh, well, we've had a sudden change of plan. One of the directions here is the Erewash canal, and I've just realised it's only 11.5 miles long, so we're going to pop up and down it. Probably take 2 days up and 2 days down. So somewhere new to go and see. And we found ourselves a mooring just the other side of Trent Lock, where the water is so clear you can see through to the weeds and the fish. And this was the same all the way up the Erewash to the other end. And this lady goes off to work every day on her canoe. What a great way to commute. As you can see behind me, we're definitely back on the canal again. We've been coming up here this morning and it's very picturesque and it's very shallow, but people have got up there and back, so we should be fine. The steering is very hard, and it makes a bit of a crunchy noise, so we're not sure if we've got something around the prop, but we're due to stop soon so we can have a look then. But it is really lovely. I think today that we'll probably have done about 2/3 of it, so it's probably a 3-day canal up and back, although we are having to go very, very slowly. The water is super clear. You can see all of the vegetation growing underneath, and you can see all the fish swimming around. It doesn't work on a camera because the camera picks up the cloud reflected in the water, but I can actually see right to the bottom. Well, we're shortly going under the M1, and then we're going to find a mooring spot. And rather unexpectedly, the group of people walking ahead of us, which is grandparents and a granddaughter, have just given us the money for a drink out of the blue, because we showed their granddaughter how to do a lock. What a nice gesture. And Henry had to pull out a ton of weed from behind this lock. I think it's something like floating pennywort. Anyway, it blocks the lock gates. More. Wow. Now we've come into this lock this morning to find one of the doors jammed open. It looks like there might be some willow in there. So we're going to have to try and clear this one as well, because this is going to leave the canal dry of water eventually. We are just coming up to the end of the Erewash canal. I still don't know if you pronounce it like that. And we're going to go through the lock, turn in the winding hole and head back down. And in this bush ahead of me, we've just seen a kingfisher. Not that I'll be able to catch it on camera, but it's always such a special thing to see. Oh, there he is! Wow! Oh. So here we are in the Great Northern Basin at the end of the line, and we're going to open the lock, moor up, get rid of our rubbish, turn around and go back down again. So, is it worth coming up the Erewash? Well, yes, it is. It's very nice at the Trent Lock end, and it's nice up this end. The middle bit, not so much. There's a lot of housing and consequently a lot of rubbish, but it's definitely worth coming up to see it because there's some lovely countryside at either end. Well, that's it, turn accomplished. At the end here, there are plenty of visitor moorings there and over there, both 7 days, and there's facilities here. So if we were staying, it would be quite a nice place to stay. Better than the rather sparse moorings up the middle of this arm. But we're heading back now because I've got a date with a tea room, which will probably be at some point tomorrow. This is a canal of very short bridges, or low I should say. I've noticed at the top end of the canal that somebody has put these yellow bin bags every 50 yards or so, actually less than that, every 20 yards or so. And I don't know if it's a consequence of that or the fact that there's very little housing here, but there's much less rubbish in the canal. I do try and pick what I can as I go along, but it gets floated to the sides and you can't get in to get it. And they have the rubbish pickers that come up and down the canals, and they have the same problem of actually being able to reach the rubbish. It's always floating in just the wrong place. See, that's the problem. It's always just out of reach. Got it. Oh, and that one. Oh, it's full of water. It's another morning and we are finishing off our trip up the Erewash today. Last night we stopped in this really nice spot, I'll show you. Really pretty, and it's about halfway down the Erewash. You can hear the M1 behind us, but it's a sort of white noise. We did get some warnings when we were coming up here that water was low the further up you went, but in fact we didn't find it to be an issue at all. It seemed to be reasonably high to us. The middle part is the more hard work part because the reeds grow very thick here and there's a lot of weed underneath, but it wasn't a problem. These people have got a great mooring at the back of a factory with a front door on the left going into their bit of land. They said it was full of weeds when they got it, but it's an absolute paradise now. It's lovely there. There's a collection of beautifully elegant chimneys up and down the Erewash as well. And I'm not sure what this building was, but it's all being restored and used as housing. Henry really fancies it. He loves the turrets. Down that way is the old canal that used to go to Derby. As you can see, it's disused now. I don't think there's any plans to reopen it. This is another feature of this canal. There's one particular tree yesterday that demolished everything on our roof. Hi! This bit reminded me of being in Giverny in France, where Monet has his house. I mean, okay, you've got the factories at the side, but if you look straight ahead, it's just a beautiful vision. And as we come down the last mile or so of the canal, we can see that the local cloud making factory is puffing out its fluffy white clouds. And we're back at the end, where we're going to tie up until at least tomorrow. These floating houses down here were all built by the grandfather of the man who owns Mill's Boatyard, which is just up there, and which has just given us the best price for grip lasting and 2-pack that we've had so far. So that's sorted out for next year. He actually lives on that beautiful floating house there, and we asked him why they all dipped in the middle, and he said that when his grandfather built them, after some years the middle would come up and the ends would drop down, so they're built with a dip to counteract that. This particular one was originally 45 foot, and as his family got bigger he extended it and put the bit on top. They're lovely. I could quite happily live in one of those. We've come for a cycle around the Nature Reserve Coast of Trent Lock, and notice that it has a lot of this, which is probably blue-green algae, which is very toxic to humans and animals. Although it doesn't seem to be affecting the fish or the swans. Won't be going swimming in there. Well, that's it. We're leaving the Erewash Canal after a very enjoyable 3 days. All these little arms that don't go anywhere have a sort of different feel about them. They're all quite self-contained, and it's nice to go and discover their personality. Anyway, we are at the confluence of 3 waterways here. Lots going on. Junctions are always really busy. This is a particularly nice junction, like it, and we'll be back next year to get our bottom blacked. So that's it for now. Thanks for watching. See you on the next video. Please subscribe. Bye for now.